Language programs and policies in multilingual societies. Number one question. Describe the English test like NCUAA Aiken situation in Japan. The Japanese students take the examination administered by the National Center for University Entrance Examinations or NCUAA under the control of MEXT for admission to public, national, prefectural, and municipal universities. The examinations take the form of multiple choice questions using OMR sheets, unsuitable for assessing productive skills. Aiken is an abbreviation of Jitsuyu Ego Jino Kenti, or Test in Practical English Proficiency, one of the most widely used English language testing program in Japan. It is offered at seven levels: grade 1, grade preschool 1, grade 2, grade preschool 2, grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5. The policy would be implemented within the existing academic year's level framework rather than genuinely attempting to develop working proficiency in English. Aiken can be used as a language skill certificate for study abroad, as it recognized in approximately 400 universities and educational institutions in North America and throughout the world.
Number two, differentiate de facto activity versus de jure policy toward language test. Well, the de facto activity can occur in the practice during the declaration of de jure policy. So to make it more sense, de facto activity is the experiences and circumstances while you're studying the language, while de jure policy is the one you're aiming for, which is to know the language structure. Because Shohami sees that tests are capable of affecting the behaviors of the people. All, in my own understanding, de facto activity can affect the behaviors of the people, while the de jure policy is where the de facto activity will be applied.
Number three question. What is the major purpose of Japan teaching in English according to the book Ling Law? According to Sasaki in 2008, there were two issues behind the change. One was Japanese teacher difficulties in obtaining opportunities to travel abroad, leading to a lack of appreciation for the use of English for communicative purpose. And the other was that education through a second language was considered to be humiliating and likened to Japan being colonized state. The sense of humiliation created by using the language to acquire the new knowledge relates to the ideology behind the grammar translation method, or GTM. In classical Chinese study, which was developed by cultivating learners' mind to focus on the difference between Chinese and Japanese, Sasaki argued that cultivating students' mind thus became one of the major purposes of the teaching in English in Japan.
Number 4. Explain the concept between grammar translation method and English for communicative purposes. The central to the conflict of GTM and English for communication purposes is that their diverging or the different representation of their English for communication and English as a system that is structured rules to be examined by through the learner's mother tongue. Due to the language proficiency is multi-computational and grammar contributes to all over language proficiency, it is a major obstacle to communicative approach. Since Japan has different institutional culture and limited professional development for teacher, it is also a problem for our English language teachers in Japan because it gives a conflict since GMT also has a different rules in making students learn English. Also, teachers cannot make their own strategy towards their because Japanese or Japan school has different traditional teaching style where they are more like the old version of teaching, where the teachers are more likely to teach their students, and the students are only allowed to sit and listen to their teachers. That is why it gives an conflict also not just for today's generation to the learners, also is it gives a hard times to students since students do not interact to their teachers while communicating the language. Japan have the examine against the border context of policy assessment, so it also gives obstacle if they present a new style of teaching. So the teachers of Japan may also have a hard time on making their own strategy because Japan has different tradition and beliefs, so they cannot just do what they want because teaching in Japan has their own rules and policies.
Number 5. Describe the new course of study shape in Japan. In Japan, the courses of study for primary and secondary education are binding documents that determine the curriculum, which have been regularly revised since 1945. In a new senior high school course of the study, which was announced in 2018 and to be implemented in 2022, reference is made to CEFR or a common version on assessment. Although the new course of study had been announced, it was rather hasty to use it as justification for the inclusion of commercial tests in a 2021 university admission process or prior to the implementation of a new course of the study in 2022. In other words, students taking a commercial test in 2020 would be assessed as if they had an acquired and for English for English skills based on the new course of the study.
Number 6. Explain the challenges faced towards CEFR and Japanese new scheme. In a survey conducted in June to July 2019, in which 683 universities or 90% and the majority 60% of universities and 90% of high schools responded that using commercial English tests was problematic because of unfairness and in terms of financial burden on families, geographical locations, and the lack of comparability between the seven commercial tests. Matsutani 2019, students can take the test of their choice up twice but bear the cost themselves from approximately USD 60 dollars to $240 for one test. The financial burden for students from remote areas includes the cost of travel and accommodation since the tests are conducted in urban areas. Such regional and individual disparities were further exposed by a remark by Minister Hagioda on a TV news program on 24th October 2019.